You're good to go. I will call the December 17th, 2025 meeting of the Santa Rosa City School Board reconvene back to open session. It is 6:11. Prior to moving to C1 or Pledge of Allegiance, I am going to announce that Trustee Medina is going to be joining the meeting remotely under the Just Cause provision. Trustee Medina, if you could please state your just cause.
Thank you, President Caston. I would like to request permission to participate under the Disability Just Cause provision of AB 2449.
My apologies, Trustee Medina. 1 second, we're having an audio challenge on this end. Trustee Medina, if you could restate your just cause.
Yes, I'd like to request permission to participate under the Disability Just Cause provision of AB 2449.
Thank you. We'll bring that request to the board. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Moved by Trustee De La Torre.
Second.
Seconded by Trustee McNally. Roll call, please.
Student Board Member Carrillo.
Aye.
Trustee De La Torre. Trustee McNally. Trustee Jenkins. Trustee Medina.
He can't vote on this motion.
Okay. Trustee Prack. President Caston.
Aye. Let the record reflect that that motion passed unanimously. When we do roll calls, we can continue to use this practice of not using the mics, and then I'll restate the vote at the end for the record. That will speed us up because of the microphones. And with that motion being approved, Trustee Medina will be joining us remotely. If I can ask everyone to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed then by the territorial land acknowledgement. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of one nation under God, indivisible, Trustee Carrillo, would you like to please present the territorial land acknowledgement?
I acknowledge that Santa Rosa City Schools is on the traditional territory and homelands of the Pomo people, traditional territory and homelands of the Coast Miwok people, and honor with gratitude the land itself and the people who have stewarded it throughout the generations. This land acknowledgement calls us to commit to continuing to learn how to be better stewards of the land we inhabit. By offering this land acknowledgement, we affirm Indigenous sovereignty and will work on to hold Santa Rosa City Schools more accountable to the needs of American Indian and Indigenous people.
All righty, we'll move to reports of actions taken in closed session. In readmission case 2324-33 and 2324-04 and 2325-10 and 26-03, the board voted unanimously to approve readmission. In case 2425-19, the board voted unanimously to approve staff recommendation to not readmit. And I will be looking for a motion related to our action on expulsion.
I move. I move to approve. Blah, blah, blah.
And just for the
Second.
record, that is case number 2526-06. It's been moved by trustee Jenkins, seconded by trustee De La Torre. Roll call, please.
Trustee Jenkins, trustee De La Torre, trustee Medina,
Abstain.
trustee Prack, trustee McNally, president Caston.
Aye. That motion passes with 5 ayes and trustee Medina abstaining. We will now move to statements of abstention. Are there any abstentions? All right, seeing none, we'll now move to adjustments to the agenda. Trustee Jenkins?
I'd like to pull F3.
All right. Any other, trustee De La Torre?
Like to pull F5?
All right, any other adjustments? With that, we will move to reports. I have word that D1 is CSEA will not have a report tonight. Is there a representative from Teamsters Local 665 to provide a report? All right, and then is there a representative from SRTA? All right, we'll move to the superintendent report. Interim Superintendent August.
Good evening. Thank you, President Caston, members of our board, and our SRCS community. I want to start really quick with just a great opportunity that I had today, which was to go to the Sonoma County Office of Education and see some incredible professional learning that took place with 3 of our schools are participating in what is called CAP Sonoma. And it is really, when I heard the teachers describe what it is that they're doing and the way that they're affecting change within their classrooms, and it's an amazing collaborative effort that starts in the classroom and then is supported by administration. And just the openness of thought, how they shared the opportunity to collaborate, to work without judgment in assessing, being vulnerable with each other to say, here's where I'm struggling with my students with the data, and here's what I'm doing to work with that. Hearing that from the teachers about how they're able to improve what's going on in their classroom, learning the difference that an intervention, a tier 1 intervention, may not actually be or should not be something that's outside coming in, but actually a change in the way that they're delivering instruction, was just really amazing. And I just really appreciate the opportunity for that, and for the teachers who, from CCLA specifically, shared with me today how they're making that work and how they're supporting kids in that way. So I want to express gratitude for that opportunity. I also want to express some gratitude to the board, our dedicated staff, and our community for our ongoing partnership and dedication to our students as we navigate this critical fiscal period. I'm just going to do a couple of reminders around where we are. I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but just know that our February deadline for addressing our structural deficit, the board will take action in February. In January, before that action, we're going to be bringing forward further recommendations and having those discussions. The board already took action, and I want to thank them for that. That equates to that first $1.9 million in ongoing savings to the structural deficit. Those are through reductions to district office leadership staffing and administrative reconfigurations. This represents a more than 20% reduction to our central office administrative team. And it's important to understand that all reductions will have an impact. Most importantly, while we may not agree on how we reach these difficult but necessary budget solutions, it's important for us to remember that while we speak in numbers and dollar amounts, behind these positions and numbers are people. It's important to me that our staff and community understands that this is not lost on us. We are moving towards these difficult but necessary solutions because it's what we must do. I just appreciate very much that we are trying, our staff is committed to having conversations with those directly impacted prior to things coming to light in public. So just wanting to let people know that sometimes there is a lack of specificity around having those conversations first. Does not mean that we aren't doing the work behind the scenes. And I just want everybody to understand that that's where we are. And we are trying to do this, recommend these difficult changes with as much humanity as we can. So thank you.
We'll raise the volume. So I'm going to start my president's report and keep it relatively brief. We are obviously heading towards meetings in the end of January and February. We're going to make significant decisions. And before we make those decisions, because those are fundamentally the decisions that relate to cutting services, cutting programs, stopping doing the things that we currently do that we're not going to be able to do because of the $15 million structural deficit we're in, that it's really important for us to know what resources we have available from other decisions before we hit that point. So the actions that we've taken to date around concessions from the administrative team, the cuts that we've taken with that are part of that. But another part of that is understanding what resources may be available that could fund things that are not being funded anymore. And as a part of that, our team has been working for several months now to convey and request from the Board of Supervisors that with us having the largest mental health service, with us being the largest mental health service provider in the city of Santa Rosa for our youth, that we're not in a position of having received the funds that we received from the state in order to create those programs, but that the Board of Supervisors does in fact control funds that can be used and dedicated to mental health. So today, following up on a letter from Superintendent August in November to the Public Health Director, I sent a letter to the Board of Supervisors requesting that they take action and provide us with an answer to our request for funding prior to our January 28th meeting, so that we actually know what resources are available to us before we take any action related to having to cut those services. So members of the board should have that copied to them from this afternoon. And I just want to make sure that everyone knows that we have to make these votes on this timeline because it's what we're required to do. But we're also doing everything that we can to understand what resources will be available before we make those cuts. I also want to announce some initial appointments to committees. I am reappointing Trustee McNally, myself, and Trustee Kirby to the Finance Subcommittee. I think maintaining the stability in that committee is important. Trustee Kirby will be chairing that committee. And then I received the recommendations from the superintendent and am appointing to the 7-Eleven committee Hugh Futrell, Jeffrey Tibbetts, Shana Kirk, Ryan Partika, Robert Chandler, Jenny Close, Jennifer Ruman, and Patricia Sisko. And Patricia Sisko will be the chair of the 7-Eleven committee, and they will start their work in January. With those appointments, I'll turn over to my other board members for their reports. Trustee De La Torre.
Thank you, President Caston. My report tonight is a message to our community. First and foremost, I want to extend well wishes to our friends, family, and community. A wonderful remainder of this holiday season and the calendar year. Cheers to the celebrations you celebrate, and peace and space to those that feel inundated with the commercialism of the holiday season and simply want to seek calm for celebrations that they do not celebrate. Most importantly, an ask to our neighbors and our community. This time of year does not automatically ring with cheer, love, and celebration from all in our community. The reality is this time of year can also feel very isolating, cold, dark, and painful. Many in our community are struggling with the loss of loved ones, financial insecurity, food insecurity, housing insecurity, fear of one's safety for themselves or their family, fear of disconnection and judgment for wanting and needing to be who they are. My ask is that we lift each other up as a community. We keep an eye on each other. We smile. We greet each other eye to eye with our hellos and lift our heads from our devices. We hold the door open for a stranger. We check on our neighbors. We offer assistance where we can and how we can. Random acts of kindness can literally save someone's moment, day, or even their life. This is more than happy holidays. This is let's pull together and love like we would want to be loved and try to create more grace and kindness for us all. I want to express my appreciation to our staff for the diligent, hard work with our fiscal instability and crisis that we continue to deal with. And as you look to the news and look to the paper, be reminded that we are not the only district dealing with the instability of public education funding, especially in the state of California. Unfortunately, more and more districts are now being publicized of being in similar situations as we are. But as a board, I remain committed to the members of this team to be thought partners, to be proper stewards of our financial commitments, and to find ways to right-size this district, right-size our budget, and build beautiful, sustainable opportunities to educate our community and our youth, where we become a district that families want their students to go to, and not just a spot where locally they feel they need to go to.
The trustees? Let me check my screen. All right, seeing no other reports. We'll move to our student board member report, Trustee Creo. Nothing tonight. All right, we're going to move to public. Which one's not on the agenda? We're going to move to public comment for items not on the agenda. We'll be doing 2 minutes of public comment, and all people who have submitted cards will be able to speak. I will call out the first 3 names, and then as you come up and speak at the end of your time speaking, I'll call out the next 3. So you'll hear your name 3 times prior to your chance to speak. Please line up in order for us to be able to have folks move through quickly. And I do ask that we have had requests that it's hard sometimes for folks to hear. So, showing appreciation for comments is great, but if we can also make sure that people are able to hear when they're coming up, that'd be appreciated.
Trustee Caston,
Yes, Trustee Medina.
just a reminder that we also must allow for people to be able to comment online since
Yep. That's correct. And so for each item, I'm going to do the folks who are here in person first with the cards. And then at that point, we'll open up an opportunity for those that are joining us online that wish to speak to do so. And you'll do so by raising your hand, and then you'll be admitted to the room. I'm going to start with Daniel Sylvester, followed by Jeremy Arnold, followed by Emily Chirk.
Consent item. Stand here so people can see you.
Good evening, board members. My name is Daniel Sylvester. Please don't close down Steel Lane because it's our home, our future, and if you guys close it, it is like I'm losing a part inside of me. I'm already made some friends, close friends that are like brothers to me. Me and I don't want us to be separated to different schools. Please don't close Steel Lane. Steel Lane forever.
Thank you. Jeremy Arnold, followed by Emily Chirk, followed by Greta Klozowitz.
A tough act to follow, certainly. Good evening. My name is Jeremy Arnold. I have the privilege of serving CSEA Chapter 75 as its labor relations representative. I'm a Santa Rosa resident. Even though our contract is closed through June 30th, 2026, your representatives Seth Eckstein, Lisa, and Vicky are threatening to take CSEA 75 to PERB to extract further concessions in violation of our contract. Let me be clear, CSEA has reviewed the district's position thoroughly. We have complete confidence such threats will not succeed at PERB. I'm wondering, have you asked your representatives about our contract, section 17.2? How about PERB decisions 2290E or 1770E? I'm guessing not. The hardball tactics employed by your representatives is actually pushing CSEA further away from a position where we are able to help you with your fiscal problems. I want to talk about our MOU we reached about the SPED department. The agreement was supposed to save you $750,000, but your managers won't get out of their offices to recruit the new hires you need to achieve those savings. Yet you're threatening to take us to PERB over a small fraction of that sum. You're also poised to renew an independent charter, pushing ADA money into the private sector, where kids and workers enjoy few rights and zero enforcement ability while closing our district schools, including Daniels. So you need to tell Seth and company to back off CSEA. Don't assume that they know what they're talking about when it comes to the law or relations with us. I can tell you confidently, they don't. You can reach me at any time at jarnold@csea.com or at 707-657-9956. Thanks so much.
Emily Chirk, followed by Greta Klozowitz, followed by Andrea Correa.
My name is Emily Turk. I teach at Steel Lane. The majority of teachers and parents are deeply frustrated and disgusted by the choices being made by you guys. Time and again, district leadership presents decisions that lack foresight, and this board continues to go along with them without meaningful challenge. The proposed closure of Steel Lane is a perfect example. We are told this closure will save $2 million, yet previous school closures did not save what was projected. There is no reason to believe this will be different. Even more troubling, you just approved to spend $7 million to find space for our 422 displaced students. You are spending more than triple the savings to justify a closure. This is fiscally irresponsible and does not make sense to teachers, parents, or taxpayers, no matter what bucket of money it is coming from. Bond money is being wasted on expenses that create no long-term value. The community approved bond funds to update and improve our school buildings for students. It was not intended to pay rent for the district office, nor to fund portables so that a large functioning school can be closed. Packing much smaller campuses with more students is more nuanced than you think. It will require a heavier lift than buying portables. There will be no space for lunch, assemblies, recess, PE, or music. This will cost you more than just portables. You need to listen to the people at the sites every day. Please come visit. I am asking you, the elected board, to do your job. Stop approving plans that don't add up and don't serve students. Closing Steel Lane under these circumstances is not leadership. It is a failure of stewardship. What do you want to be remembered for? A failure or a triumph?
Greta Klozowitz, followed by Andrea Correa, followed by Guadalupe Perez Cook.
Good evening. I'm Greta Klosovitz. I also teach at Steel Lane. Turns out the money saved by school closures was not what was expected. So why are we continuing down this path of closing schools with minimal savings? At the same time, pledging to keep cuts as far away from students as possible. Steel Lane is currently at about 420 students, and that is without the students that were lost to the recent redrawn boundaries when we were close to 500. How are you rationalizing breaking up a large and vibrant learning community just to parse them out and squeeze them into $7 million worth of temporary buildings on already overcrowded campuses? Steel Lane campus has classrooms that will open up next year when Leela moves. Steel Lane has more space than most to use for additional portables. Steel Lane has ample field space to create a loop around driveway behind the school, far removed from the school, which, by the way, was part of the plan drawn up by district hired architects several years ago that never happened. If we can allocate $7 million to pay for facilities to house our displaced students, why can't we use that same money or even a portion of that money to invest in Steel Lane facility, invest in the Steel Lane community, invest in our public school communities? We're requesting that the board bring this back for discussion, put it on the next board meeting agenda, and reconsider this decision. Keep Steel Lane open. It's not too late.
Andrea Correa, followed by Guadalupe Perez Cook, followed by Ryan Thompson.
It's really hard to hear in the middle. Good evening, Superintendent August, President Caston, Vice President Prack, and members of the board. My name is Andrea Correa, and I am the proud principal of Pioneer High School. I am honored to recommend, and that's why I'm here tonight, the renaming of the Pioneer High School Gymnasium Court to be named the Coach Mike Erickson Court. Coach Erickson served as Pioneer's boys varsity basketball coach from 1991 till 2024. 33 years of extraordinary commitment to our students, our school, and our community. His impact extends far beyond wins and championships. He has been a mentor, a teacher, and a role model who shaped generations of young men and women through the values of integrity, resilience, and teamwork. In addition to coaching, Coach Erickson taught college foundation courses, helping freshmen develop the skills they needed to succeed beyond high school. He has served on our Hall of Fame board, organized the Sonoma County Classic, fundraised tirelessly for all of our athletics, and mentored countless coaches, many of whom were once his players, and many of whom still coach in Santa Rosa City Schools and the greater Sonoma County area today. Under his leadership, Pioneer earned 7 league championships, numerous runner-up finishes, and multiple regional and state coaching honors. Yet Coach Erickson has always remained humble, often reminding us, it's about the kids, not me. Renaming the court in his honor would recognize not only his remarkable career, but the lasting legacy of character, excellence, and care he has instilled in generations of Pioneer students. When I asked the community for input, one of my favorite former players, Ian Collins, please let me finish, this is the best part.
Sorry, I have to keep the time.
Okay.
Thank you. Guadalupe Perez Cook, followed by Ryan Thompson, followed by Philip Snugdeck.
Good evening, Superintendent August, President Caston, and Vice President Prack. I'm here to read about the renaming of Coach Mike Erickson Court. On behalf of Dr. Ana Guzman, I'm writing to support the renaming of the court at Pioneer High School to Coach Mike Erickson Court in honor of an individual whose dedication and passions have a lasting impact on students, athletes, and the broader Pioneer community. I began my teaching career at Pioneer High School in 1995, and during those early years, I witnessed firsthand the profound impact Coach Erickson had on student lives. As a young educator, I observed how his influence extended far beyond athletics. Coach Erickson was not only a coach, but a mentor, role model, and steady presence for students who often needed guidance, encouragement, and belief in their potential. His impact was evident in the confidence students gained, the standards he set, the care he showed for young people, both on and off the court. His commitment to fostering sportsmanship, personal growth, and academic success made him a pillar in the school community. For many students, his lessons extended well beyond the classroom and the game, instilling values of perseverance, teamwork, discipline, and integrity that stayed with them long after they left Pioneer. Rename the court to Coach Mike Erickson Court would be a fitting and lasting tribute to his legacy. This recognition would honor his many contributions while serving a daily reminder to students of the positive influence one dedicated educator and coach could have on an entire community. Thank you for your time and thoughtful consideration for this request. I respectfully ask the board to support and approve the renaming of the Pioneer High School Court to Coach Mike Erickson Court. I believe this tribute will resonate deeply with the Pioneer community and appropriately honor a man who gave so much to the school and its students. When I asked the community for its input, one of my favorite former students, Ian Collins, responded. When asked what he thought about renaming the gym floor, he said, well, like Coach E always said, this would be the best thing since sliced bread.
Thank you
for
very
your
much.
consideration.
Ryan Thompson, followed by Philip Snugdeck, followed by Christian Villegas.
Good evening, board members, superintendent, and the many of fans and people listening at home. I am also here to support the movement to rename the basketball court at Pioneer High School after Coach Mike Erickson. I sat in front of many of you a little over a year ago with Coach Erickson and also former athletic director and coach Russ Petrick to put forward the resolution to recognize October as Coaches Appreciation Month. And that was both recognition for Coach Erickson's accomplishments, but also for the impact that he has made on many lives as a coach. And for all the values that he embodies as a coach, and not just a coach in sports. His stats speak for themselves. I mean, he's got a list of statistics and accomplishments, but it's more so like what Principal Correa said, what his accomplishments were off the court. And what he embodies as a coach in not just sports, but in life. John Wooden, a legendary coach, defined a coach's true role isn't just winning, it's developing character, teaching life lessons through effort and integrity, and guiding individuals to become the best they can be. That is exactly what Coach Erickson did for Pioneer High School for many years, and renaming the court after him will leave a lasting impression for the future generations of prospectors. I thank you for your consideration.
You. Philip Snugdeck, followed by Christian Villegas, followed by Ashley Bell.
Hi, I'm Philip Snyder. I'm a teacher at Lewis Early Learning Academy. We are a special day program for preschool students. So we have 4 classes on Steel Lanes campus, 1 at Lewis campus, and then we have 5 community preschools. The reason I'm here is our preschool program is a really awesome program. You guys should come check it out. We are an award-winning program for our inclusive education practices. And one of the main reasons that we were able to win that award is because of the teachers at Steel Lane. I have never been denied access to anything at Steel Lane's campus, and this community is a great community. I would humbly request that you reconsider closing it. It's enabled my students to be super successful and accomplish a lot towards their IEP goals. So if you could keep Steel Lane open, that would be great. I'm having to leave at the end of the year, and I'm really heartbroken about that. It's where I've grown up as a teacher, and it's provided me with a lot of opportunities. I'm grateful that you guys are uniting us on one campus, and I'm appreciative of that, but I would just beg you to keep them open. They're an amazing community to be a part of. Thank you for letting me be a part of your community. Please keep them open.
Thank you. Christian Villegas, followed by Ashley Bell.
All right. Hi to everyone. I'm a parent. My name is Christian Villegas, and my daughter goes to Steel Lane And, over the last year, I've been hearing all these school closures, and it's been a worry for us that a lot of these movements that you guys or decisions that you guys are taking doesn't a lot of times doesn't seem logical, or I don't want to sound wrong, but anyways, I'm a Latino father, and I'm worried about all these kids that are going to be put in on these refurbished buildings, and doesn't really make sense that there is a budget issue here, and we're spending money renting out these type of buildings when there is a school already serving its purpose. So I mean, and so it's just, I just wanted to let you guys know that us as Latino people, we feel like this is going against schools that has more Latino prominence, or I don't know if that's a correct word, but letting you guys know that feels like is the wrong way to go, and it's not a good example to our kids, and feels like it's not the right thing to do, especially when we have kids that like my kids, they're worried, they're scared, they don't know what's gonna happen, and so anyways, I don't want to make this long, but I just wanted to
Thank you.
extern my worries. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time. Ashley Bell?
Ashley Bell, Santa Rosa High School. I'm here to speak about F5, approval of new course proposals. I co-authored one and authored another one on my own. So I'm speaking specifically about ethnic studies, world history, and ethnic studies, pop culture. Years ago, the school district made a decision to have ethnic studies be a 2-semester graduation requirement, which is twice as much as the state requires. And ever since then, for about the last 4 years, I've been working on trying to find solutions for kids who do not have a chance to take that class for a variety of reasons. Initially, I thought it was primarily the kids who are taking APUSH and AP Lang. And then I came to realize that when our kids, if they do fail ethnic studies English, there's no way to make up ethnic studies credits at summer school. And so there seemed like there was a gap and a hole. And so my department made a decision to try and help fill that hole to meet student need. And we believe that ethnic studies world history meets students in the sophomore year, and it'll be offered here at Santa Rosa that year. And then we'll offer ethnic studies US and English their junior year. And our intention is to run ethnic studies pop culture as an elective for 9-12, but primarily targeting seniors who have missed the graduation requirement, either because of their AP classes or because they failed English or another ethnic studies requirement. These classes are supposed to engage students. Pop culture has been my personal pet project. I think it's a way to engage with kids. What kid doesn't want to tell you or not tell you what music they're listening to, or the clothes that they're wearing, or the movies they're watching, or the TV? And how many of them don't understand how all those things build generation to generation? I think that both of these things cost $0. They solve a problem that is frankly not mine to solve, but I care deeply about the students they serve. And I would like to offer them alternatives that are engaging and give them something to look forward to in their day. So please approve both these courses. They cost $0 and they solve a problem that I didn't make.
Thank you for your comments, and thank you for your work on these proposals. With that, I'll come back to the board for approval on consent calendar items F1, 2, 4, 6, and 7.
Vice President.
Oh, sorry. Thank you for catching me. We're gonna have a few of those today. With that, is there anyone online wishing to make public comment?
There are members of the public joining us on Zoom and would like to comment on a non-agenda item or consent item. Please raise your hand at this time. Our first speaker is BA. If you could please state your full name for the record. You have 2 minutes.
My name is Beth Ann Turner. I'm a district music teacher and my home school is Steel Lane School. In the 3 years I've been part of Santa Rosa City Schools, I have taught at 5 of our schools. First, I want to thank you for preserving our West Santa Rosa elementary schools as TK through 6. You clearly understand the value of multi-age communities. And we have one of those communities at Steel Lane where teachers work together to support students across age and grade levels. I feel so grateful that Steel Lane is my home school, and I'm proud of the ways that we as a staff collaborate and share our professional experiences. As a district music teacher, I have seen firsthand the overcrowding that elementary closures have caused. I encourage you to reconsider the closure of Steel Lane and add the discussion to a January agenda. As Trustee Caston said in a recent meeting, we can't close all the schools. Keeping Steel open allows for relief of overcrowding. Our 422 students have a home at Steel. Students deserve a home with room for assemblies and lunch and soccer games. Students deserve a home with a collaborative faculty that loves them deeply. Students deserve to keep their home school. We have closed enough elementaries. Please review the closing of Steel Lane. Bring it back up to on your January agenda. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there other members joining us on Zoom that would like to speak on a non-agenda or consent item? The next speaker is Karen Wagner. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. I wanted to talk about, I'm on many job boards for open applications and jobs that are available to paraprofessionals and special needs. And I do this because I'm curious as to, are we really recruiting? I don't see our name on any of these things that are going out to the public. Like, there's lots of different job boards and nobody really knows what EdJoin is. So if we're only advertising on EdJoin, we really need to go on Glassdoor. We need to go to Indeed. We need to go to LinkedIn. We need to really, like Katati Unified in North Park, I saw 8 openings. And that's very unusual for their school to have openings. However, there they are. They're advertising. Did I see anything for us? I haven't seen anything for us in a long time. So I would really like to, be able to get our people in there, get them trained, and be able to take care of our students. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This is the final call for members of the public that would like to make a public comment. Please raise your hand. President Caston, there are no more hands raised.
Thank you. We'll close public comment on non-agenda and consent items. I'm looking for a motion on consent items 1, 2, 4, 6, and 7.
Motion to approve F1, F2, F4, F6, and F7.
I'll second.
All right. Moved by Trustee De La Torre, seconded by Trustee Jenkins. Roll call, please.
Student Board Member Carrillo, Trustee De La Torre, Trustee Jenkins, Trustee Medina,
Aye.
Trustee Prack, Trustee McNally, President Caston.
Aye, that motion passes unanimously. We'll move to, yes. And thank you for coming. And we'll move to item F3. And I believe that this is Trustee Jenkins, you pulled this in relation to Springboard. So Trustee Jenkins, if you'd like to give us the scope of your question first.
Yes. No, that
No.
one's not open.
Hello, Dr. Castro. Thank you for being here.
Hi.
I pulled this one for further explanation of what we're doing. Also clarification on if with our current program, we're meeting the metrics that we're proposing for the future program. Like, are we doing things to Fidelity? Let's start there.
Yeah, at the October 22nd meeting, we had a presentation from Expanded Learning. And Dr. Reimer, he began to go over some of the results that we've gotten. To keep the meeting to 10 minutes, he did actually separate out some of those results to the appendices. But on average, we usually get something in the neighborhood of about 5 months of, over the summer, that is, of achievement improvement in just reading. We're waiting to get the results on the last set of data. I heard from him today, it's actually comparable, or if not higher, with respect to the metrics. What you're looking at is a new contract to take that same sort of work to our after-school programs. So that's what we're looking at right now, where we made an agreement with Springboard to redo their curriculum so that it actually works for our after-school programs.
To me, this is a pretty like high ticket cost for a program that's pushing into Boys and Girls Club on our campuses for 4 months. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. Personally, I would like to see that money spent pushing in to these services in the classrooms for all of our students, instead of just specifically for Boys and Girls Club. That's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, this particular ELOP funds are for expanded learning. And so this particular contract and the ELOP services do have to be used for anything that what I call beyond the bell. So before school, after school, spring break, summer school. So that's particular what these funds have to be reserved for.
Trustee De La Torre?
So I also have reservations on this as far as funding what appears to be changes in a current program to adapt it and implement pilots on other campuses to see if something's going to work from Springboard. Can you explain that a little better so I have a better understanding of what changes are being made and what investment we're putting into the developments?
Sure. So two things are being accomplished by this, so that the after-school program actually has a structured curriculum to it, and whoever it might be in our particular service or as Boys and Girls program across the board actually has a curriculum that they're using from one school to the next. The Springboard actually agreed to re-engineering and tailoring their curriculum so that it actually would work with our after-school program. The deal we made with them, though, is that actually they would be reducing their cost to us so that we would use it as part of our after-school program. So we actually are getting, well, you could say 2 birds with 1 stone with this. So not only are we getting a standardized curriculum for our after-school tutoring, we're actually lowering the cost by about $80,000.
And is there any way this investment can be spent in-house to current staff or aides to benefit our students directly opposed to an outside contract?
Yeah, that would be my preference. I would love to be able to sit down with a group, but get a commitment from a staff of individuals long-term to be able to do that. I did try this in 2022 when I first came on board, and it didn't actually, we couldn't actually get the a group of staff to that we needed, because as you can see, if you look at a number of individuals that we need to be able to staff across the board, it's hard to get that number of individuals on a regular basis every day to be able to staff at all of our schools. But that would be my preference as well.
Trustee Prack?
Hi. I'm curious to know, can you hear me okay? Am I close enough? How are decisions made when programs like this are brought into schools? Like, do you guys, when you're making these decisions, are collaborating or partnering with school staff of what areas need to be met? Or is it just the assumption if we could find this program, let's pilot it?
In terms of servicers, there's an RFP process that Dr. Irma had to go through to be able to choose who is actually going to be providing the service for us. It's a process that we go through when it comes to identifying servicers.
But how do you do that? Or let's just for this specific program, how did you guys determine that this was something you wanted to bring?
This particular program, Springboard. So I wasn't actually the individual that did it, so I wouldn't be able to give you the actual particulars. But it was done in late 2022. I can get that information for you though. But we do, when it comes to servicers or contracts, we have a process that we have to actually go through.
Okay. So if it was a different program, how do you guys determine or why, or how am I asking this? Why would you bring a program or if this is an after-school tutoring program, how do you know if it's worth the investment?
Okay, so I see what you're saying.
I don't think I'm asking it right. But let's see. We'll go with what your answer is.
Okay, so in terms of the individuals that would be finalists that we would be reaching out, that would be soliciting us as finalists for the RFP process, we're going to be selecting from reputable companies or servicers. And this particular Springboard, for example, is a very reputable company that's used with some of the biggest districts and some of the for the most I guess, longest amount of time in different districts. So we work to establish relationships and have participants for the RFP process with reputable servicers and companies.
And let me go to Superintendent August.
So as this is a consent item, I just want to, staff isn't typically prepared for a discussion on these, but I will go ahead and give a quick overview of an RFP as a request for proposals. So we put out parameters and seek multiple proposals, and it goes through an evaluation process. We'll be providing information to the board as we move forward about all of the programs that we're going to be reviewing. Our team is in the middle of doing that because we have a lot of different things we do, and we know we're going to have to really consolidate that and narrow that down. So we'll be going through that process even with our existing programs to determine our best return on investment and bringing that information forward.
Trustee Jenkins.
Being that this is not necessarily created for an after-school program, right? That's what you said, kind of?
Yeah, because it's created for a longer term, originally for summer school, but they redid it for an after-school program, yes.
And with Springboard kind of requiring a pretty significant rate of parent involvement, I know personally, like my kids were at Boys and Girls Club, loved it, lived by it, all the things. However, are we seeing parent involvement? I know we don't have all the statistics, but are we seeing parent involvement with the after-school program of Springboard to the amount that is kind of needed for this to be successful?
I can get you that information because Dr. Raymer's not personally available. I'd have to get that from him, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Delatorre.
Thank you very much for being put on the spot and bringing us the information. You do have Dr. Castro. My last comment on this is I simply want to use this opportunity to springboard the desire of this board that all investments made in these opportunities, we continue to have conversations and find ways to make these investments in-house if possible. We do have an amazing staff here with us. And if there are opportunities to continue to invest in them outside of the classroom to better prepare our students, I'd love for this district to continue to have those conversations year after year and try and find the right people and the right opportunities to put that in place. So,
Thank you, and I stand open to making those agreements and changes if anybody would like to team with me on that.
Trustee Medina?
Thank you. Just kind of a couple things. I think one of the things that stood out to me on this proposal is the cost. I think it was for about 500 students, about $250,000, which is about $500 per student. I think a couple things that I've mentioned in the past that I think could maybe serve a similar purpose. I'd really like for us to look at Conmigo as an option, which for a district could be like as low as $15 per student for a year. Um, and locally, the public-private partnership with Read on Sonoma, right, who's in place in a lot of the local elementary schools. I reached out to Michelle Leeson, their executive director, who says Helen Lehman is one of our local schools that has requested to potentially have that in place. But I think it's a local program that achieves similar goals, that could have that has proven to have very positive outcomes, that would potentially be much cheaper, especially since there's a lot of like nonprofit private financing of it. So I would actually prefer if we can maybe go back and look at those two options, both Read on Sonoma and Conmigo as options to help achieve these goals that we have with the Springboard Collaborative within our schools. Um, so I just wanted to find out if there's been any other work, if on that end, if you know anything about the ask from Helen Lehman to Read on Sonoma, and how that would be similar in achieving these goals here.
Thank you.
All right, I'll just add, I think we need to recognize that we're obligated to provide educational opportunities from, I believe, about 7 a.m. till 6 p.m. And I like the thrust of this program to make that additional time, not just childcare, but to add an academic component and an ability to have tutoring and supports that further that essentially provide an opportunity to practice what we're teaching in the classroom. So I definitely appreciate this. I'm sure that we can sit here and find many alternatives, but I think functionally we need to make sure that we're seeing those alternatives actually replying to the RFP going through the contract process. And I'd be very concerned about us from the dais proposing folks that we don't even know if they had applied or if they're an alternative. And, you know, I trust our contracting process for this phase. I do believe, though, that we need to make sure we're holding it accountable to the cost and the outcomes. And we clearly need to re-agendize or at least re-receive the report that we had received on the outcomes for this program. And I believe the evaluations are being completed literally this week. So if we could expedite receiving that information in the new year, I think I would appreciate, that would be important for us.
Absolutely. I appreciate the questions. I don't want to get into specifics, but some of the organizations that have been mentioned, actually, we have attempted relationships with, and we're not actually approved to do so.
So that's why we have a contracting process.
Yes.
So at this point, those are a motion and a second on.
I have one more question.
Yeah, Trustee Medina.
I'm just curious, with our updated technology policy, I'm curious as to the use of technology, Chromebooks in this program, if there's any, and if there's any effect from our updated technology use plan that'll impact this program.
So we actually have Chromebooks that are identified specifically for after-school use.
Thank you.
You're sure.
All right. Is there a motion?
I'd like to move to approve contracts 1, 2, and 4 of the contract summary list.
Second.
Been moved and seconded for contracts 1, 2, and 4, which would exclude Springboard, I believe. Okay.
Right.
It's been seconded. So it's been moved by Trustee Medina, seconded by Trustee Jenkins.
Yeah.
Oh, 1, 2, and then the fourth row. Roll call, please. Seconded by trustee Jenkins.
Student Board Member Carrillo. Trustee Medina.
Aye.
Trustee Jenkins. Trustee De La Torre. Trustee Prack. Trustee McNally. President Caston.
Aye. Is there a motion for Springboard? No, it's just there's a motion first. All right, seeing no motion, we won't take that up. I do want to make sure that as a board, we're recognizing that we need to be expressing these things when we have the policy and program items before us, because this causes logistical challenges for actually implementing the programs. But we'll need to come back with the data at our next meeting and do a presentation on this with the additional information that's been requested in order to move this forward. All right, item F. To get back to my other point, F5. Trustee De La Torre.
Very quick and simple. This was simply pulled to show admiration and respect for the work that was put into providing these opportunities. Thank you and show you appreciation, and ask that we continue to collaborate and work towards these type of opportunities that we can continue to provide supports for our teachers, ultimately for our students and families.
I want to thank the staff at Santa Rosa High School for pushing on this and getting it put over the finish line. Thank you very much.
Also make the motion.
Motion to approve F5.
Second.
Fine. And I'll just add that I appreciate the creativeness of these. I actually was reviewing the pop culture proposal, and my son saw what I was reading. He was very interested in it, and he's not quite high school yet, but it made him excited to see some of the reading that I was doing. So with that, we'll move to a roll call vote.
Student Board Member Carrillo. Trustee De La Torre. Trustee Jenkins. Trustee Medina.
Aye.
Trustee Prack. Trustee McNally. President Caston.
Aye. That passes unanimously. All right, let's move to our G items. G1 is Resolution 2025-2649, criteria to determine certificated personnel who shall be exempt from the order of layoff by virtue of their credentials, assignment, or certification. Vicky Zanz presenting.
It should be on always. Yep. Turned off when it got. As long as it's blue, you're good.
Okay. Ooh, that's loud. Good evening, Superintendent August, President Caston, members of the board, those with us here in the auditorium and those listening at home. Each year, we unfortunately need to lay off some of our very valuable staff. And in order to keep some of our hard to fill positions filled, which often is filled by some of our youngest teachers, we create skipping criteria from layoffs. And so what I'm presenting tonight is our resolution of who should be exempt from the order of layoff by virtue of a specific credential or assignment. Our skipping criteria is possession of a single subject Spanish credential, a BCLAD or a French bilingual authorization, possession of single subject math and/or single subject science, including but not limited to physics, chemistry, biological sciences, physical science, life science, and geosciences. Possession of a special education credential. All teachers who are assigned to the dual immersion program at SR FACS. All teachers who are assigned to teach a course in Spanish
as part of the dual immersion program at CCLA. All teachers who have had successful experience teaching transitional kindergarten within the last 5 years, school psychologists and speech language pathologists holding a bilingual certification. In addition to meeting these requirements, those employees that are skipped based on that criteria are expected to be teaching in that area for the following school year.
Questions? Trustee Jenkins.
Hello. I have a couple questions, so I'll try to break them up. But I'm curious why, I appreciate you mentioning that at the end, that the intention is for them to be utilizing that. I'm wondering why it doesn't say that in the resolution. Was there a reason for that?
It does. It says any certificated employee, let me see, where does it say it? It's in the whereas. It's one of the whereas.
How many whereas? Okay. My second question, and I know this has been addressed, and I recall that it was addressed last year a little bit after the fact. But can you explain the reasoning why IB certification is not on here? I understand that it's not something that there's technically only one combined school that will be offering IB. However, it seems like it would be a benefit to any teacher to have that certification. So I'm wondering why that's not a skipping criteria as well.
So the reason that we didn't add it as a skipping criteria is that only teachers at that particular school site have district support to get that training. So although others could go out and get that training, it's not district supported, but instead they would need to pay for it on their own. And so when discussing that with SRTA, it was decided not to include it because not all teachers have that same opportunity.
I guess the thing that I run into is partially because I've been impacted by it directly, with having a student enrolled in an IB class, that teacher who's IB certified being not removed, but had gone somewhere else. And then it being covered by a not yet IB certified person. And I know I wasn't alone in those feelings. So that's why I bring it up, because it seems like an IB certification would be a benefit to any teacher, as it is I'm not going to say that word correctly. Pedagogical. That's the word. Sounds better when it's shortened like that. I added an LY and it didn't work. It seems like a benefit for any teacher because it is such like a way of teaching. I'm just rambling now, but those are my thoughts.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I want to pick up on where your thoughts were. We are not doing it because it's not currently district funded for other folks to receive that certification, but doesn't that inherently put us in a position of potentially having to spend extra funds to retrain those positions? And I guess my question is do we have the discretion to add it? Because I don't think we're in a place where we should be putting ourselves in a situation to have to expend extra funds.
So I will say that it was brought up last year. It was discussed with SRTA, and anything that we propose to add to the skipping criteria that would require people to get extra training, we need to give them a year advance notice. So we could potentially add it for next year in collaboration with SRTA.
Do you need action from us in this to make sure we're providing that notice? Because we should be in an upstream way addressing additional costs through this skipping criteria.
So obviously I can't make a motion, but if the motion were to include.
What I'm asking is, does it need to be in the motion, or is the sentiment of the board expressing it enough? Is my question. I'll let Superintendent August answer my question.
Can I ask in a piggyback combined? The other part to that is that the school, Montgomery, who is an IB school, is expanding their program to the middle school years. So it is really important that we have teachers in that program paid for so that the students can get the education that they've been told they're going to get.
Superintendent August.
So, and Vicki, this is, I just want to do a point of clarification. So it might help in the discussion, which is the other items on here are credentials versus this is not a credential, it's a certification. And so I don't know if
I'm reading the title of the resolution is by virtue of their credentials, assignment, or certification.
just a clarification on that. Thank you. And so yes, we can, I think we have it captured in the minutes to be able to, that we need, that is part of the direction of the board. That sounded like a pretty clear.
Is that a clear direction from the board that we'd want?
Do we have consensus? We don't necessarily need it to be part of the motion, but.
I am seeing that.
Not direction for
Trustee
me.
Medina?
I said it's not part of direction from me.
Okay. What else? Trustee McNally. A different tongue. So anyone else on that? All right, then it is the sentiment of the board. Trustee McNally?
I was just curious about the one about TK. You said it's successful within the past 5 years. So I'm wondering about someone who taught TK for 1 year and they were successful, but they hated it and they never want to do it again. Why are we giving them skipping criteria?
Well, again, part of them agreeing to be skipped is that they're agreeing to teach TK.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
So part of the skipping criteria is they have to agree to be in that criteria.
Yes.
Any other questions? All right. Trustee Medina?
Yeah, I would just like to make the motion to approve the resolution 2526-49 regarding the criteria to determine certificated personnel who shall be exempt from order of layoff by virtue of their credentials, assignment, training, or certification, the skipping criteria.
I'm going to pause you on that motion for one moment. I have no cards. Can we please open up online to see if we have any public comment?
There are members of the public joining us on Zoom and would like to comment on item G1. Please raise your hand at this time. Our first speaker is Ashley Bell. You have 2 minutes. Go ahead.
The IB program came up. If IB certification is a skipping criteria, why not AP training as well? They're fairly comparable programs. They both require training. They both require skill. Why IB and not AP?
Thank you. There's other members of the public who would like to speak on G1. Please raise your hand. President Caston, I don't see any other hands raised.
We have a motion from Trustee Medina. Is there a second? Okay. And just to clarify, IB is not a part of the motion before us for the skipping criteria. That is a sentiment for next year. With that, roll call, please.
Student Board Member Carrillo. Trustee Medina.
Aye.
Trustee McNally. Trustee Jenkins. Trustee De La Torre. Trustee Prack. President Caston.
Aye. That motion passes unanimously. We'll now move to item G2, approval of a memorandum of understanding reached with Santa Rosa City Schools and the Santa Rosa Teachers Association regarding SRTA 25-26 number 2 MOU, speech language pathologist overages. And I have Dr. Vicki Zanz and Director Fisher presenting.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and introduce the MOU, and then I'm going to have Mr. Fisher speak to it. So currently, we pay speech language pathologists an overage the same as we would a classroom teacher who sees their students every single day. So if a speech language pathologist goes over their caseload number, then they're paid $15 per student per day. In order to avoid that, we have been contracting with agencies for speech language pathologist services. We would like to keep those services in-house, and by approving this MOU, we will be able to do that. And I'll let Dr. Fisher explain what the difference is.
Sure, thank you.
You're great.
Thank you. The reason we are moving away from the prior way that overages were calculated, as Dr. Zanz mentioned, the speech language pathologist would receive the overage for each day, regardless of whether the student was served. In addition to that, they received the same $15 per overage, whether they were seeing the student for 15 minutes, whether they were drafting IEPs and doing full case management, et cetera. So it wasn't equalized in terms of workload. And with some others of our staff members, specifically school psychologists, when we do overages, we've moved towards a workload model where the school psychologist will time card the extra work created by the overages. And that's the model we're moving towards. In addition to that, we are optimistic that we will be able to shift significant amounts of caseload away from contracted school psychologists, not school psychologists, speech language pathologists, which are relatively expensive. In addition to that, the other downside is most of our contracted speech language pathologists are virtual because that's what the market is right now. And we're hoping to have almost no virtual speech language pathology services in the future. The vast majority of students prefer and benefit from in-person services.
Questions? Trustee Jenkins?
I assume, however, will this make collaboration with other team members when talking about students more smoothly as well, getting away from the contracts? And then how does this impact like streamlining the IEP process and 504s and things of that sort?
Sure. So
you're going to have to read.
Okay. Apparently I'm challenged. So with respect to coordinating IEP processes, just being in person, being on the actual school sites, I think will improve the ability to have collaboration. In addition to that, SLPs potentially could be in a different time zone sometimes that are served, they're credentialed and appropriately licensed, et cetera. So I think those opportunities are going to be significantly better when we have more in-person. In addition to that, as Dr. Zanz mentioned, we are bringing these overages or these services back in-house. In a perfect world, we have enough speech language pathologists that every student can be served and we can keep caseloads appropriate. And this also gives us some flexibility.
You have no cards on this item. Can we please check for online public comment?
There are members of the public joining us on Zoom and would like to comment on item G2. Please raise your hand. Our first speaker is Karen Wagner. Go ahead, Karen. You have 2 minutes.
Good evening. Okay, so as a paraprofessional working in an ESN classroom, there was a semester or maybe even a whole school year where we did have have speech services on Zoom. So when you are doing speech services on a Zoom and you're working for somebody like Mr. Fisher mentioned that a different time zone, they have a different accent. But the other thing is that they don't quite understand the student. Some of our students will not speak. Some of our students will overspeak. Some will just do hand gestures and they think that the speech language pathologist thinks they're doing sign language. That is not true. So I actually asked to be a excuse me, a person that was a co-worker on the Zoom so that I could help unmute, mute, navigate the Zoom, send messages to the SLP. It was a disaster. So that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment on G2? Please raise your hand. President Caston, there are no other hands raised.
Further questions, discussions? All right, would you, Superintendent August, would you like to?
So I just wanted to add some information. I'll be uploading in just a moment the AB 1200 disclosure because we came to agreement with SRTA for this on Friday, that was real progress. I think really appreciate that partnership in addressing this issue, and it does help with our budget deficit. It has a fiscal impact expected of positive $100,000 in savings through the year. So just we had a compressed time frame for this with SCO. And so we just got all of that paperwork running back and forth. So just wanted to give that update since it was not included at the time.
I'll also extend our gratitude to SCO for doing the review between Friday and today so that we didn't have to wait till January to take action. Any other questions or discussion? Is there a motion?
I'll go ahead and move that we approve the MOU between Santa Rosa City Schools and Santa Rosa Teachers Association regarding the pay rate for speech language pathologists exceeding students on caseload.
All right, moved by Trustee Medina, seconded by Trustee McNally. Roll call, please.
Student Board Member Carrillo. Trustee Medina.
Aye.
Trustee McNally. Trustee Jenkins. Trustee De La Torre. President Caston.
Aye. That motion passes unanimously with Trustee Prack abstaining. We'll move to item G3, SELPA recommendation. I have Director Fisher and Interim Superintendent August presenting.
Thank you. I want to give a little bit of the background towards the consideration of SELPA formation and our recommendation. Last year, so we are a member of both our districts, the Santa Rosa Elementary School District and Santa Rosa High School District, operating under one governing board, which is you all, have been members of the Sonoma County SELPA. And in essence, special education funding passes through the SELPA and then is distributed to member districts. And why this is significant is the SELPA through its Superintendent's Council, and I'll talk a little bit about that because that's relevant to our decision as well in a minute. Through its Superintendent's Council has this pool of special education money that is generated by all the LEAs or all the districts in the county based on ADA, and then through its allocation plan determines how to distribute that money through a vote of the Superintendent's Council. And prior to this year, the money was distributed probably for the last 10, 12 years, I think, distributed based on higher rates for students with certain disabilities. autism, intellectual disability, emotional disability, orthopedic impairment. I'm sure I'm missing one, but yeah, in any event, at a higher rate. And then Superintendent's Council, there was a work group, a fiscal work group, to consider changing the allocation plan to an ADA model that is based on the individual school districts' ADA. As it turned out, with the change in the fiscal allocation plan, this had a pretty significant impact on special education revenues for Santa Rosa City Schools. We were fortunately, the Superintendent's Council determined that it would be a 2-year phase in to sort of minimize or spread out the impact a little bit. And the first year of impact is this year, and then the full implementation is next year. And why this is significant is that as of next year, it's an ongoing revenue loss of at least $3.4 million going forward. It was a bit over $1 million this year. So at that point, we at Santa Rosa City Schools decided to investigate the possibility of forming our own SELPA, looking if there would be fiscal, programmatic, and I'll say control benefits to forming our own SELPA. And we arranged for a consultant through School Services, which I think was in August or so that the board approved that. And it determined through the fiscal analysis that it would be a fiscal benefit for us to form our own SELPA. And that would be an increase on the revenue side. At the same time, there's an increase in some costs because the SELPA, through pooling money, had taken on some costs on the benefit of the whole county. And so in recent months, we've been working through what the additional costs would be and whether it would behoove us to again, to form our own SELPA and take on those costs. I've listed some of the costs in both in the board item and in the summary sheet. At this point, it is a net fiscal positive for Santa Rosa City Schools. We'll have some increased operational costs, certainly internally, both with respect to some fiscal reporting and some special education data reporting. We do have the departments in place. We may need to allocate some more time again in information evaluation and fiscal in terms of the reporting part. In addition to that, SCO, or Sonoma County Office of Education, currently serves 45 Santa Rosa City School students through DHH itinerant, and that is different from the Deaf, Hard of Hearing program that is at Hidden Valley. These are typically students in other programs, whether ESN or a general education placement, that they have a teacher from SCO who works with the student once a week, once every 2 weeks, once a month, etc. It varies. We anticipate being able to hire 2 FTE in that area. I've worked with the county office in terms of caseloads, expected caseloads, etc. In addition to that, we have 11 students with visual impairments who are served in the same way with itinerant SCO teachers. And we anticipate in that instance being able to arrange an MOU with SCO. SCO has MOUs with Marin County and neighboring counties. And again, I've spoken with the special education director at SCO and included those costs in our calculations. The other piece is there are currently 12.5 students, one we share with another district, that are served through the Specialized Health Services program through SCO, and the SELPA, as of this year, is providing a $50,000 credit essentially for such students to subsidize placements in that program. Forming our own SELPA, we would lose that. And we're anticipating, having reviewed student IEPs, that we can take the large majority of those students into our own programs as they exist with some additional support. Expectation is perhaps 4 students left with SCO, and we've discussed with SCO about MOUs for those students. So that would be another net increase in cost. Now, the biggest issue with which we would have to collaborate with SELPA is for our DHH Hidden Valley program, which we operate as a regional program on behalf of the county, and that is funded through the SELPA. Our expectation is to work collaboratively with Sonoma County SELPA to determine an arrangement, or we can continue to operate those programs on behalf of the county. They're excellent programs, well developed, and we are optimistic that we are going to arrange what would be called an inter-SELPA agreement with Sonoma County SELPA to make that happen. Currently, there are 4 Santa Rosa City schools served in that program and 14 students from other districts for a total of 18. I'm mentioning this because this is part of the process, negotiation, collaboration with SELPA to work that piece out, but I want to be transparent about that.
Just a couple of clarifying questions on this. We currently offer direct placements to other districts outside of the SELPA placements.
That's correct. We just got our 24th today from another district. So if it ends up being structured in a fee-for-service, I think you're referring, President Caston, to our fee-for-service program with ESN and so forth. There's a possibility that it could be run that way as well. And we are familiar with contracting with other districts to serve their students. We anticipate, as the largest district in the county, to continue to collaborate with and offer placements and programs for neighboring districts as space permits.
I want to briefly revisit the history of what kind of led us here today. As we were doing consolidations last year, and we were expecting to hit a certain amount of savings through the cuts that we made, one of the unknown factors that ended up eroding that anticipated savings was this vote by SELPA in order to change our revenue structure. It wasn't supported by us in the Superintendent's Council. The Superintendent's Council currently is one district, one vote.
That is correct. Would you like me to speak a bit to the Superintendent's Council and the change in the governance?
I think it's important for us to understand that this was something that was done with a lot of opposition from a lot of districts, and that it was also done without a fair representation of the people being impacted by it.
Yeah, and I'm going to speak a little bit to that. So, and as we are 2 separate districts, and the Sonoma County SELPA is run through a superintendent's council with various area representations. Our Santa Rosa High School district has 1 vote as the high school district in the Santa Rosa area. The elementary school district is part of Area 4, which has several other districts in the area, and is represented by I think it's 2, but it might be 3 members for the elementary school districts in the area. Prior to this year, Santa Rosa Elementary School District had a second vote. I'm going to say automatically, but it had not been written into the local plan. Last year, there was a push to potentially take Santa Rosa Elementary School District away from its vote in the area, which happened as of this year. And to speak to the specific vote, since you mentioned opposition to it, there was a vote on whether to implement the plan immediately with the change in the fiscal allocation plan, or over a 2-year span. And Santa Rosa was aligned with phasing it in over 2 years because of the significant fiscal implications of it. And the vote was 8-7 to implement it over 2 years.
So it was 1 vote short of being the worst case scenario.
That is exactly correct. And if I may, that leads me into another point. Part of this is about local control. And sort of regardless of the current status of the allocation plan and the SELPA, now we are 1 vote among many. And our Santa Rosa, as the largest district in the county, may not necessarily always have the same alignment interests as some of the smaller districts in the county. Again, part of this is to, in essence, have more control over our own destiny in determining the way our special education programs run and how they're funded and so forth.
And I would suggest a better ability to anticipate these types of changes in revenue.
I think that's right. Predictability.
Predictability.
Yeah, thank you.
Trustee Jenkins, and then I have Trustee Medina.
A clarifying question on the dollars piece. So you had mentioned that there was a possible increase of like 3-something million each year if we stayed with the.
Yes, a decrease in revenue and special ed dollars that we would have been receiving from the SELPA. So a negative, the special education revenue passes through the SELPA and then is distributed into districts. So with the change in the allocation plan, as of next year, there would be an ongoing $3.4 million deficit from what there had been before.
So that's different than like the financial impact that's in the agenda?
Yes. So in terms of I think this is getting into how we did the fiscal analysis. And so what the fiscal analysis takes into account is the money we put into the SELPA essentially through our contribution through ADA and the money we receive from the SELPA sometimes in terms of their special programs, et cetera. And so the net revenue change, and this is somewhat more complicated than my brain can process, but the net revenue change we anticipate, or the net revenue advantage, I should say, for Formula England SELPA is $1.15 million at this point. So what we're saying is that $3 million deficit resulted in the $3 million change, I should say, resulted in a $1.15 million advantage, if that makes sense. Maybe Superintendent August can explain it better than I can.
I think you have it pretty clear, except for it's less of a hit to our budget. So it's not, oh, that 3.2 million or 3.4 million goes away and we get 1.1 million. It's our net difference. That allocation formula versus us receiving it ourselves is a $1.1 million difference. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Let me restate it in simple terms, make sure I'm understanding it. If SELPA had not taken the action it did in late spring of last year, this would not have made sense because we were actually receiving benefit. But because of the action they took, this makes sense because they disadvantaged our student population to such an extent that we should do this.
That's exactly right. It would have made, I'll say, no fiscal sense if the allocation model had been had been kept the same. In fact, it would have been a significant advantage for us to stay in the SELP. In other words, there was a significant swing. Thank you.
Any other questions? Let me go. Oh, sorry, Trustee Medina, and then I'm going to go to public comment, and then we'll get back to the board. So, Trustee Medina.
Yeah, thank you. In terms of the $550,000 cost, is any of that a need to hire staffing to manage the SELPA, or is it just reallocating work to existing FTEs?
In terms of staffing, what we've calculated in there is hiring 2 FTE to serve the deaf and hard of hearing population that's currently served by SCO. With our numbers of 45 students currently served by SCO, in terms of caseload, it would make fiscal sense to hire two teaching staff, 2 specialized teaching staff, 2 FTE to serve that. So part of that is additional staff. In terms of the second point, in terms of operationally, our hope is that we can maintain that with existing staff, take on the SELPA functions. There is by reallocating some work within Santa Rosa City Schools.
And in terms of that reallocation, would some of the cost of that reallocation be funded through this money that then would release funds that that currently fund those positions?
I see what you're saying. In other words, if it shifted over to the essentially the self-operating budget, would we potentially free up some monies in other areas that's currently funding those positions? At least that's how I understand the question. And I'd say it's possible. I can't anticipate, but I would expect we may have to add some additional time onto what our additional time into what our current staff is able to process, but that's an open question.
Let me go to Superintendent August to expand on that.
Yeah.
So essentially, if what it does is if there may be some positions, support positions specifically, so if we needed to add a little bit to fiscal or to information or an evaluation or just shift some of that time, it could result in a shifting of costs from unrestricted to this restricted source. So
Thank you. And the second question, in terms of that, the net positive of 600,000, is that kind of like a conservative estimate, or, so sometimes we expect savings and maybe they don't realize. So is that conservative? Is that just based on the actual numbers that you already have, or?
That's based on the actual numbers that we anticipate at this point. I don't consider it particularly conservative. I don't consider it particularly optimistic either, based on our expected expenses next year.
Thank you.
I'm going to go to public comment. We can ask more cards. I have no cards. Let's open up for online.
There are members of the public joining us on Zoom and would like to comment on item G3. Please raise your hand. President Caston, I do not see any hands raised.
Fine. We'll go ahead and close public comment. I will go around for everyone. We can do the discussion and comments, but I do want to start this by saying that it was a gut punch in the middle of what we were considering at the end of last year, to have a local entity that actually understands what was happening in this district make a decision that was so reckless and put us back in this situation again this year, to the tune of 4 million, almost a third of the structural deficit that we are facing right now. And even if the savings was $1 instead of $600,000, I would support this, because we cannot have an agency that is so disconnected from the majority of the residents and students, that is so weighted in its votes away from the population of this county, make decisions like this that have caused serious pain and injury to our students, both general ed and special ed. So I appreciate the work. I am very happy that this also has revenue savings, but the risk alone of having this entity continue to control such a substantial and important amount of our funding would make this change worth it, even if it was revenue neutral from my perspective. So I will open it up for other discussion and questions.
I'll just like to move to approve the recommendation to form an internal SELPA.
I move by Trustee Medina. Is there a second? Seconded by Trustee De La Torre. Any other questions or comments? Yeah.
I appreciate the comment about the tiny risk for our deaf and hard of hearing program. As someone who has worked in deaf and hard of hearing program that is no longer in existence in Sonoma County, that has a very special place in my heart. And it is such an incredible need and so cool that our district can fill that for other areas. So I just want to applaud the work that has been and hopefully will continue for years and decades to come, that's being done through our district. So thank you.
Roll call vote, please.
Student Board Member Carrillo. Trustee Medina.
Aye.
Trustee De La Torre. Trustee Jenkins. Trustee Prack. Trustee McNally. President Caston.
Okay. That motion passes unanimously. We'll now move to item 4, public hearing, resolution 2025-2646 to convey easement to the city of Santa Rosa. Superintendent August, beautiful. I was not seeing the names listed on the agenda walking up, so.
About to jump, but he's on, yeah. You want to sit here?
Kathy Godfred presenting.
Thank you, President Caston, Superintendent August, and the trustees. Can you hear me now?
Right at your mouth.
So the purpose of this item is to hold a public hearing in accordance with the Education Code Section 17559 regarding the district's proposed conveyance of property. The board is required to open a public hearing, receive a staff summary of the proposed conveyance, and provide an opportunity for public comment.
Thank you for the presentation. I'm going to move straight to the public hearing. Public hearing is open. I have no cards. Let's go to online public comment.
There are members of the public joining us on Zoom and would like to comment during the public hearing on item G4. Please raise your hand. There are no hands raised.
Public hearing is closed. I'll bring it back to the board. And we do not need to take further action, correct? This is the next item. So, okay. So the public hearing is closed. We'll now move to G5, which is the approval of resolution 2025-2646 to convey easements to the city of Santa Rosa. Kathy Godfrey presenting.
Purpose of this item is to present the resolution approving the conveyance of property for board consideration and action. In accordance with Education Code Section 17559, the district held the required public hearing more than 10 days after the board adopted the initial resolution of intent to convey on November 12th, 2025. With the hearing now completed, the board is asked to review the staff summary, consider any public input received, and take action on the proposed conveyance as required by law.
Thank you. Questions, discussion? Motion to approve. Moved by trustee De La Torre, seconded by trustee Prack. Roll call, please.
I just had a question.
Trustee Medina.
Just for clarification, the 190,000 plus, does that go into a specific fund? Is it restricted in its use?
I'm sorry, trustee Medina, I couldn't hear you. Can you repeat?
Superintendent August.
It is a facilities related revenue, so it would need to go into facilities.
Thank you.
That roll call, please.
Student Board Member Carrillo. Trustee De La Torre. Trustee Prack. Trustee Jenkins. Trustee Medina.
Aye.
Trustee McNally. Absent. President Caston.
Aye. That motion passes unanimously with trustee McNally absent. We'll now move to item G6, public hearing and action on the Pivot Charter School North Bay renewal petition. We'll have Dr. Castro and Jana Gaskell presenting. Dr. Castro, when you're ready.
Waiting for me. Because this is a public hearing for action on the charter renewal, we'll be using a timer for both presentations. So Dr. Castro will have 10 minutes, and then Jana Gaskell, Director Gaskell, will have 10 minutes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Superintendent August, President Caston, Vice President Pack, members of the board, students, staff, and community of Santa Rosa City Schools. This item concerns the renewal petition of Pivot Charter School North Bay. Pivot is a non-classroom based charter school serving primarily high school aged at Promise students through an independent study model. Its current charter term expires in June of 2026, and the school is requesting a 5-year renewal. District staff conducted a comprehensive review of the petition in accordance with AB 1505 and applicable sections of the Education Code. Pivot serves approximately 437 students with a student population that includes high percentages of socioeconomically disadvantaged students, English learners, and students with disabilities. Since 2023, Pivot has participated in what is called the DAS, Dashboard Alternative School Status Program, which recognizes the unique accountability context of alternative schools serving high-risk and highly transient students. Approximately half of Pivot's enrollment each year consists of new students. Overall academic performance, this is the performance summary here. Overall academic performance of the school remains below state averages across several indicators. However, when compared to other DAS qualifying schools in Sonoma County, Pivot performs comparable or better in multiple areas. The school demonstrates strengths in maintaining a very low suspension rate and has shown recent gains in graduation and career readiness indicators. Additionally, Pivot's alternative metrics, including iReady data, show meaningful growth in reading, math, and particularly among students with disabilities, Latino students, and socioeconomically disadvantaged students. That said, despite high areas of progress, the district did identify some areas of concern, including recent declines in English language arts and math, high chronic absenteeism, insufficient detail in the special education program description, and enrollment and budget assumptions that require clarification or that required clarification. Taking into account Pivot's alternative school status and comparative performance, however, staff does recommend a 5-year approval for the charter renewal with continued focused monitoring, development of a memorandum of understanding, and conditions as appropriate to address identified concerns. At this time, I'd like to provide the staff from Pivot Charter our opportunity to provide their presentation.
Okay.
Director Cass.
Good evening, Superintendent August, President Caston, honorable trustees. Thank you for having us back here. I want to thank staff, and I know there were several staff, many staff involved in the review of our charter petition. It was a very thorough and fair review as far as we're concerned. So thank you, and thank you for your time for being here. We did give you a response document to some of the facts and findings, so you have some of the data that you asked for already. But we're going to give a quick flyby on summarizing some of that data. I brought with me two wonderful women, my Chief Business Officer, Liz Jones, and our Director of Special Education, Carol Castro Ballard. So we will kick off just giving you a few responses to some of the concerns, but we do sincerely look forward to working on an MOU that you all are going to be very comfortable with if you do approve the charter. And we are thrilled to be considered to possibly be a charter within Santa Rosa City Schools. I mean that. So thank you.
All right, we'll start with the enrollment and attendance information. Just want to confirm that all of the numbers presented in our petition budget are based on historical data and analysis of trends and things like that. So over the past 5 years, our attendance rate has averaged 82.2%. And currently for this year, in the first 4 months of the school year, it is 82.8%. Our petition budget assumes 81%, which is actually a little bit conservative, but very realistic and achievable. Next slide. Right. Same thing with enrollment. We have had some significant wait lists in recent years. So we do believe 490 is a realistic and achievable enrollment number. The district also stated in its findings that it expects Pivot to reevaluate its revenue assumptions and avoid overstating revenues. We agree wholeheartedly. This is a fundamental process of financial management to do that. And I assure you that Pivot evaluates and updates its revenue assumptions frequently as new data becomes available. And I also wanted to confirm that Pivot is still financially stable and remains viable even at lower enrollment. So if, 400 even, currently we're between 400 and 500, and that is a financially stable position for us. So even if 490 is not quite achieved, we can scale our revenues and expenses accordingly and remain financially viable. Next slide. Okay, reserve for economic uncertainties and our fund balance. For charter schools, our support organizations and among charter school business officers, it's commonly recommended to maintain at least 3 months cash on hand, which is about 25% of annual revenues. So that's significantly more than 3%, but largely due to differences in the way that charter schools and districts operate, the resources and tools that we have access to for cash flow, things like that. Our governing board has issued guidance that our ending fund balance should be at least 20% of annual expense. And additionally, we have been setting aside funds in anticipation of potentially a large capital project if we did need to purchase or lease different facilities in another area nearby. But if such a facilities project is not needed, we will for sure reallocate those funds to something else, focusing on serving students in educational programs. And finally, we provided some clarification regarding some specific line items and questions about why the assumptions were the way that they were. If you have any additional questions about those, please let us know. But just wanted to confirm that they are all based on actuals year, prior year data, and were done intentionally.
Yeah, that's right. Pivot is dedicated to serving every student who enrolls. All placement decisions, including in-person versus virtual instruction and transportation, are guided by the IEP team to ensure each student's individual needs are fully met. The 45-mile reference in the petition was intended as a guideline, and students receive the services required for their educational goals. Next slide. Pivot ensures students receive immediate support. We verify all records in CalPads and implement a 30-day interim IEP so services begin without delay. Students with mild to moderate support needs receive specialized academic instruction through general education with push and support, small group instruction, and accommodations tailored to their needs. Students with extensive support needs receive individualized programming, which includes adaptive behavior supports, teaching social, emotional, and self-regulation skills, and functional skills programming, teaching daily living, communication, and independent skills, along with specialized academic instruction. Our ESN program uses TeachTown, a research-based curriculum designed to support students with extensive support needs. Pivot maintains strong compliance with focusing on student success. Our systems monitor services weekly and maintain open communication with families to ensure each student's program is delivered effectively. Many students enroll with prior IEPs, and Pivot works immediately to align programs to their current needs. The eligibility numbers illustrate the diversity of our student population and reflect the range of supports we provide, all based on individual student goals and requirements. Education specialists deliver services both in person and virtually, and Pivot contracts with credentialed vendors for speech, occupational therapy, and other related services. All vendors operate under FERPA compliant agreements, which means they are legally bound to protect student privacy and maintain the confidentiality of all educational records. These agreements are monitored regularly to ensure quality and consistency.
I have the privilege of serving as chairman of the board of directors and also my name is Jim Lewis. I have the privilege of serving as chairman of the board of directors and also founder of Pivot. I've been with Pivot since August of 2000. To achieve their dreams,
I suggest that you give us a description of the video. Let's go ahead and turn that on.
Because I know you all are very, very busy, we wanted to just show you a video of the school site. I also wanted you to meet Mr. Lewis, who is the founder and the chairman of our board and has been since the inception of the school. He's a busy man as a city manager down on the Central Coast, but he wanted to be here tonight. And I said, we can show the video. We can show, you could talk because he's so amazing. But it also mainly highlights the facilities and all the classes that we have going on. So I will let him know that you at least saw what he looked like. We have an incredible board. They have expertise in public finance and public agency, Brown Act, former superintendents and development officers. And that's what makes up our board. And I hope someday you get to meet them soon. We have to meet here in Sonoma County all the time per the new law. And so we have all of our board meetings here in Santa Rosa. So we hope someday that you will meet them. So any questions about anything that we presented?
Actually, before we go to questions,
Sorry.
Are you done with your presentation? You do
Yeah.
still have a minute and 20 seconds.
Yes, no, we are done. Thank you.
For the benefit of the public, for this process, I'm going to read a preamble that seemed a little disjointed because it was intended for before the presentations, but it was not in front of me. And then we're going to open up for the public hearing, receive comment, and then we'll go to a place where the board can ask questions and make comments. So we're opening and convening a public hearing on the petition that was submitted to Santa Rosa City Schools to renew Pivot Charter School North Bay's charter for a requested 5-year term beginning on July 1, 2026 and ending on July 30th, 2031. Pivot currently operates under a charter authorization by the Oak Grove Union Elementary District that is set to expire at the end of the school year. The law was amended to remove the ability of charter schools to operate resource centers outside of the boundaries of their chartering authority, except under very limited circumstances.
Pivot operates a resource center in our district's boundaries. However, now that its charter is about to expire, the law requires that it seek approval from the district to continue operating its resource center before submitting a renewal petition to Oak Grove. Or it may submit a renewal petition to the district for local authorization. Since we did not approve a request for Pivot to continue operating its resource center under the authorization of Oak Grove, Pivot has submitted its renewal petition to the district. If the renewal petition is approved, the district would become the chartering authority, and Pivot would be regarded as a continuing charter school. As required by law, the district published a detailed staff report that provides an evaluation of the renewal petition, student outcomes, and other information. The staff report includes the review team's proposed findings of fact and recommendation on whether to approve or deny the renewal petition. The public hearing is required to be held before the board may take action on the renewal petition. As part of this public hearing, the board will provide district and Pivot representatives with equal time. This is the part that we just did. As for procedure, the district and Pivot representatives will each have the 10 minutes that they did not use all of them. We appreciate your brevity. And then following these presentations, we're going to receive comments from any members of the public who wish to speak. After that point in time, we'll have, as the board, the opportunity to ask questions or make comments. We'll be able to deliberate and we'll be able to consider taking action. So with that, I thank you both for your presentations, and we're now going to receive comments from members of the public who desire to address the matter. We have received a fair number of public comment cards, and as such, we're going to stick with the 2-minute limit on each public comment, but we will ensure that every member of the public that wishes to speak will speak. And there will also be an opportunity for online, and I expect many people to jump on me when I forget to call for it. With that, I'm opening the public hearing, and I'm going to start with Evie Green, followed by Bryce O'Neill, followed by Christina Ramos.
Are you first?
Yeah.
Good evening. During my time at Pivot, I've been given opportunities that have truly changed me. One of the most meaningful was traveling to New York last year with my art history class. It was the first time I'd ever seen that kind of architecture and famous artwork in person, and it felt unreal to actually be standing in places I had only learned about in books. Spending that time together also brought my classmates and I closer together. We built stronger friendships and created memories we will always share. I experienced incredible art, amazing food, and a whole new city. But what stood out to me the most was how the trip expanded my perspective. Being surrounded by so much art, culture, and history inspired me creatively and personally and showed me how powerful learning can be outside of the classroom. It's experiences like this that show why Pivot is such a great school and how much they truly care about their students. Thank you.
Thank you. Bryce O'Neill, followed by Christina Ramos, followed by Barbara Yogurt.
Good evening, council members. My name is Bryce O'Neill, and I've been a student at Pivot for 5 years. Pivot has been a wonderful place to learn and grow. It has given me so many positive experiences. It has taught me self-discipline and self-confidence. My goal is to be a pilot and join the Air Force. I am currently taking flying lessons here in Santa Rosa, and I have just completed my solo flight. Pivot has given me the tools to be able to achieve this goal, and I am looking forward to the exciting adventures to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Christina Ramos, followed by Barbara Yogurt, followed by Christia Aragon.
Hi, good evening. My name is Christina Ramos, and I'm a business owner here in Santa Rosa. My daughter is a student at Pivot Charter School, where she thrives because of the individualized curriculum and the exceptional teachers and advisors. She's also taking classes at SRJC, and because she's able to work at her own pace, she's on track to graduate high school a year early. By traditional measures, she excelled at Slater Middle School too. She had perfect attendance and she was valedictorian when we de-enrolled her from 8th grade there. As a neurodiverse student, she did not enjoy going to school and struggled every day to get herself motivated to be there. This is not a criticism of the school or the district in any way, just her experience. I'm here tonight as both a parent and a taxpayer to respectfully remind you of the responsibility to provide appropriate education for every student in your diverse population that you serve. Pivot Charter School is helping you to do that and needs to continue. Thank you.
Barbara Yergert, followed by Christina Aragon, followed by Jorge Franco. Barbara right now? Barbara. It's hard to read. The last name starts with a Y. The rest of the handwriting was very difficult to read.
She had to leave.
Okay. Then we're at Krista Aragon, and I am not going to risk mispronouncing your last name, so I'll let you present the rest of it.
I buried into it. Good evening, members of the board. My name is Krista Aragon Dicklich, and my daughter Evie Green is a sophomore at Pivot Charter School of the North Bay. I'm here tonight to share why I chose Pivot for my daughter and why this decision matters so deeply. I enrolled Evie at the beginning of her 6th grade year because Pivot was the only school willing and able to accommodate her medical and educational needs. At that time, Evie required back-to-back total reconstruction surgeries on both ankles. Each surgery left her with limited mobility, muscle weakness, frequent medical appointments, and extensive physical therapy. Just a few weeks after her 2nd surgery, Evie experienced a major epileptic seizure and was hospitalized for several days. We have since learned that stress and trauma are triggers for Evie's seizures. Pivot's special education program has been essential to Evie's success and well-being through academic support, counseling access, physical accommodations, and consistent understanding. Pivot not only helped her catch up, but regain confidence in herself and her learning. As a parent, I see my daughter thriving, and it is everything. I'm asking you to please keep Pivot open and in its current location. For students like my daughter, closing the school or forcing a move would introduce unnecessary stress that is detrimental to her learning, but to students' health and safety. And in Evie's case, this unnecessary stress could trigger a life-threatening seizure. As you make this decision, I ask that you remember the students behind the numbers. This is not just about finances. It is about our children's education, lives, health, and futures.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time and consideration.
Jorge Franco, followed by Daryl O'Neill, followed by Jason Hodges. And folks, if you hear your name, please feel free to line up down at the podium.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jorge Franco. I am the Director of Local Advocacy, coincidentally, for Kern and Fresno counties for the California Charter Schools Association, but I have the honor to be here tonight with you all in Santa Rosa. Thank you for the hospitality. It's actually been a very warm welcome the 2-3 hours I've been here. So with that said, during CCSA's recent visit to Pivot, we had the opportunity to see the firsthand the strong sense of community that exists among students, families, and staff. It was clear that Pivot is a place where students feel supported, known, and valued. And I think that's testament to the resiliency that we know Santa Rosa as, at least from my own personal outsider perspective. The facility itself, a true work of love, and that care is evident in thoughtful learning environment and the wide range of options available to meet individual student needs. We were especially encouraged by the intentional supports in place for all students, including, but not limited to, students receiving special education services. Pivot is clearly committed to serving a diverse student population and ensuring every student has access to the resources they need to succeed. Pivot Charter School North Bay demonstrates a deep commitment to student-centered learning, flexibility, and community partnership. These are the exact qualities envisioned in California charter schools movement and law, and the ones that benefit students and families in this community. For these reasons, we respectfully urge the board to approve the charter renewal for Pivot Charter School North Bay, so this school can continue its important work serving students and families. Thank you for your time and consideration, and happy holidays, everyone.
Daryl O'Neill, followed by Jason Hodges, followed by Sarah Torma.
Good evening. Pivot is not just an online school. It's an environment that nurtures self-discipline, confidence, and personal growth in each and every student it serves. Pivot stands out by providing an engaging educational experience made for individual learning styles. Pivot empowers students to work at their own pace with the continuous support of dedicated teachers. Our daughter, who is now 21, found confidence at Pivot during her last 2 years of high school. Her grades went from C's and D's to A's and B's. Pivot support helped her finish high school and be able to continue her passion to become a therapist. Our son, now 16, has taken flying lessons to become a pilot and join the Air Force. His journey at Pivot started 5 years ago. He came from a school where he was bullied and struggled with in-person learning environment. With the support of his teachers, Pivot has helped him develop his self-esteem. He's completing all of his work on time and getting almost straight A's. He has now completed his solo flight, and we believe that Pivot has helped him develop his confidence to do this. Pivot is more than just education. It's about preparing students for the confident, capable contributors to our community. I urge the council to recognize Pivot as one of our esteemed schools so that Pivot can continue to serve the diverse needs of our students. Thank you.
Jason Hodges, followed by Sarah Torma, followed by DJ Malley.
Good evening. My name is Jason Hodges. I am an education coordinator at Pivot Charter School. I've also had the opportunity to run a business with over 150 people and coach basketball at high school and D2 college level. I'm mentioning that because I'm focusing on the idea and concept of teamwork. I have been a teacher for 11 years, and I've been working at Pivot for a little under 5 months. And in that time frame, the team is an incredible thing to behold. Just this afternoon, with one student, the resources that come to bear to support that student was nothing short of outstanding. And I've spent most of my personal and professional life trying to build a team, running my business, coaching basketball. And the time, the effort, the resources that are spent to create a team where everyone is working for the same objectives, rowing in the same direction, being selfless and giving up of themselves for the greater part of the team has really been impressive, and it's something that I've sought out most of my life. So I'm extremely proud to be part of this Pivot team, and I'm looking forward to being part of the team of Santa Rosa City Schools and supporting the awesome students of Santa Rosa and beyond. Thank you.
Sarah Torma, followed by DJ Malley, followed by Percy. And Percy, I'll let you say your last name when you get up.
Pagulayan, that's how you say
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Sarah Torma, site administrator at Pivot Charter School, a public school. Most of my career I have spent in traditional school. Actually, much of it has been with our current authorizer, and they're wonderful. I've also taught in New Zealand and Indonesia, so I've seen a lot of different ways of delivering education, but I've never seen anything quite like Pivot.
In my prior roles, I became stumped by those kids who keep you up at night, the ones that haunt you after they're gone. And over the same years, I saw my own two children grow into very different students, even though they were raised with the same books in the house, the same family culture, by the same parents. One is a teacher's dream child. She's doing great in her traditional school, and one is not quite built for traditional school. He's a square peg. And the kids that come to Pivot need the square hole. They deserve our tireless efforts to reshape that hole a little bit better for them. Every day, I'm excited to go collaborate with our excellent staff. Thank you, Jason. I quite agree with you on what else we can do in our very unique position to help our students succeed. We have the flexibility to do that, matched with the high expectations of our students and staff. We implore you tonight to authorize Pivot under Santa Rosa City Schools so we can continue to complement, not compete with what traditional districts offer with our unique and rigorous model. Thank you so much.
Thank you. DJ Malley, followed by Percy, followed by John Halderman.
Thank you. It's good to see you all again. I hope you're all having a wonderful holiday season so far. First and foremost, I'd like to thank you for having this meeting here at Santa Rosa High School. I graduated here roughly 17 years ago. I know, a long time. And I still have a lot of fond memories, including a couple of teachers who, even now, I still look to them for inspiration through many of my exploits and what I do. 2 out of 24 over the course of 4 years at this high school. Now, they were all fine teachers, every one of them, but it takes a special type of person, I believe, to really motivate and push kids to want to be better and do more. And I was privileged to meet 2 of them at this high school. But I wanted to say that because I have yet to meet anyone I've got to work with at Pivot that doesn't fit that criteria. Every one of the faculty members, whether they're teachers or just ECs, whatever the case, they are all very dedicated to what they do. They're all very committed to their students, and it shows. And I know that if they get renewed, that it will continue to simply excel. And yeah, it was thank you. That's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Percy, followed by John Halderman, followed by Lucas Elbaum.
Hello, my name is Percy Pugalion. Great last name. It's my dad's. And I am honored to stand here again to advocate for my school. I'm currently a junior at Pivot North Bay, and my time here has been wonderful. Before the pandemic, I had a deep passion for learning, and I thrived at school. However, I, among many students, have lost crucial years to being stuck inside during quarantine. Coming out of quarantine, I felt as though I was being thrown into middle school than freshman year. Facing challenges, old and new, I found myself struggling and no longer thrived in a once familiar environment. Seeing as I still had years left in my high school career, I made an effort to find some other way to make sure these pivotal moments were good ones. One of the first classes I took at Pivot was plant and soil science. In addition to regular schoolwork, I was able to learn hands-on. We grew a variety of vegetables in garden beds, grew lettuce from seed in a hydroponic tower, all to finally harvest, cook, and eat. Additionally, we were given opportunities to go on field trips. We went to Ceres Community Garden, earning community service hours, as well as learning about the agricultural industry at Harmony Farm and Harmony Farm Supply and Nursery. I gained so much from this one class: how to apply for a job, how to grow my own food, how to properly care for plants. I even developed a greater passion and appreciation for the natural world around us. Coming across Pivot was truly a blessing. The environment quickly became comfortable thanks to the amazing staff and teachers. I attended school more, my mental health improved, and best of all, my love for learning blossomed once more. It is thanks to Pivot that I'm thriving in my education once again. Thank you.
John Halderman, followed by Lucas Elbaum, followed by Anna Tosa.
Hello, my name is John Halderman. I am a site administrator at Pivot. I'm going to be speaking for a parent who couldn't make it today. Her name is Michelle Hansen. She is a Pivot parent. Good evening. I just wanted to give you a little background of my daughter. She graduated from Pivot with straight A's, and she is now in her second year of college, thriving in all aspects of her life. And I don't think that would have happened if we would have kept her in the traditional high school environment. I think it's important that kids and parents have options when it comes to education. I believe that Pivot offers that. I know my daughter started thriving the minute she started at Pivot. She came out of her anxiety-ridden shell that had been consuming her on a daily basis. She was excited to do her schoolwork because she was able to do it on her own time and, most importantly, in her own way. And I think that's the biggest life lesson Pivot could have given her. Pivot offers a sanctuary to learn and thrive, and we are forever grateful for this experience. My hope is that more parents and children have this option. I think it's incredibly important that it is out there and accessible for those who don't fit that box of a traditional school environment. These kids now more than ever need to feel supported, and I have seen it firsthand from the changes we made for my children by transferring to Pivot. I can't reiterate enough the amazing experience my daughter had her last year of high school after we made that change. My younger son started out in the same high school as my daughter, and after a year of struggling and trying to keep his head above water, we decided to transfer him to Pivot as well, and it has been the best decision we have made. He feels supported and excited, and I can see the confidence coming back. My hope is that more parents know about these school options like Pivot, and more kids can feel supported in an environment that they will prosper in. Thank you.
Lucas Elbaum, followed by Anna Tosa.
Good evening, board members. My name is Lucas Elbaum, and I'm the English Language Development Coordinator and a graduation specialist at Pivot North Bay. While I know that words like diversity, equity, and inclusion have become almost taboo in some places these days, it is my deep belief in these values that give me purpose as an educator. And that's why I'm an educator at Pivot, because we are a school who truly strives to provide an equitable education for the diverse student population in the Santa Rosa area. Equity in education can take many forms, but it always means meeting students where they are. And that's exactly what we do at Pivot. We don't pick and choose our students, but rather they come to us because they're looking for something different. In our grad track program, we're providing an alternate path towards graduation. And for many of our students, it's a path that they might not have found themselves on without any option besides the traditional school model that just doesn't work for all students. In our ELD program, our multilingual students are finding their voice in multiple languages, and we have students gaining recognition for this multilingual superpower through the reclassification process. Renewing our charter will be a way for Santa Rosa City Schools to truly demonstrate to the community that this is a district that is committed to providing equitable educational opportunities to all students, and that this is a district committed to providing services that meet the needs of diverse learners, even in the face of enormous fiscal challenges. And it will show that all students are included in this commitment, especially those students who have felt that school was not a place for them. On behalf of myself, our staff, and especially our student and family community, I want to thank you for voting to maintain Santa Rosa City Schools as a diverse, equitable, and inclusive school district. Thank you.
Anna Tosa.
Hi, Percy. I have to say hi to Percy. She's my student. Good evening, board members. My name is Anna Toso. It is my honor to be standing here speaking on behalf of Pivot Charter School. And I just want to say this is such a natural partnership that Pivot Charter School should be joining forces with you to help every student in this community. I was the enrollment coordinator for 11 years at Pivot Charter School. And during this time, I met so many families who came to our door in a real time of need. And, meeting these families, it was really inspiring to see their courage, that they were asking for help. And they were also honest about where they were coming from and where they wanted to go. So with Pivot, with this amazing team, they would gently receive these students and bring them into a safe space and into the care. And with cards up on the table, the teachers would say, okay, here now you've got your feet under you. What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? And a lot of times, honestly, students would say, hey, I want to go potentially back to Santa Rosa City Schools and graduate with my peers. And the educational coordinators would say, let's do that. And so we would do everything in our power to get that student where they wanted to go. And it was a great motivation. And then some students stay for years and graduate. So one of the things that I really also enjoyed doing was I was the plant and soil science teacher, and thanks students. And that was really a lot of fun to get into a hands-on mode. But anyway, thank you so much, and please support this petition. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now go to online comments.
There are members of the public and would like to comment on our public hearing for item G6. Please raise your hand. President Caston, I do not see any hands raised.
So I want to, before we close out the public comment, my apologies. Have to switch between a lot of screens up here. Before we close out the public comment, I want to make sure that we include and note the comments we did receive from our labor partners on this. We received comment earlier in public comments from CSEA that we should remember and include as a part of this public hearing. And then the board received agenda analysis from SRTA. And for full disclosure, I want to make sure everyone understands what they have sent us. SRTA members appreciate approving the petition for Pivot in that they provide necessary alternative settings for students that SRCS does not currently offer. So those are the comments that we've received from our labor partners, the representative from CSEA and then from SRTA, and that's in our record now. With that, I'm going to close the public hearing. Move to questions first from the board, and then I'll ask you to make your questions as questiony as possible, and then we'll move to discussion after we move through any questions. And I'm going to save my substantive questions for the end, but I want to, if we can briefly start with the Dr. Castro, I believe this would be to you, the criteria under which we are making this decision, what is within the scope of this hearing in discussion before the board versus considerations that would not be because this is a renewal.
Okay, so the criteria that would be within, my understanding would be the review by educational services, a fiscal review, a review of the special services. I think those would be the main components that would have been reviewed.
So those are the elements that are germane to our discussions.
Yeah, and the metrics. And the metrics, I think an important component to mention with that is that the metrics that we reviewed are not selected by us because we weren't the original authorizers.
Okay, and so this was compared to the metrics that Oak Grove set at the original authorization.
Yes.
With that, I'll go to the board for questions. You have questions, yes. Trustee Jenkins.
I have a simple one first. My simple one is
maybe it's not simple, I don't know. But since this is a 5-year renewal, was the previous contract 5 years? Is that pretty standard? And so the follow-up question to that, because there's a possibility of switching districts, is that always a 5-year sitch?
Superintendent August?
The term of the renewal is dependent upon the findings at the time of the petition evaluation. So depending on the metrics and whether it's a renewal or initial, there's several things that go into it. So there are certain things that limit to potentially shorter times. Their petition in our review meets the requirement for a 5-year renewal.
Sorry. Blue dot got stolen. Additionally, I know this is in all of the paperwork, but the responsibilities that fall on our district for students, not on our district, but do you know what I mean? Sure. How does that factor in, such as nursing staff? We responsible for different things, and how does that factor in financially as well?
That's a great question. We are our own LEA for purposes of special education, so we are responsible for all of those services, 100%. Could we purchase services from you all? And we have from other districts in the past, yes, but only if you are amenable to that, at your going rate. So, but we are our own LEA as a member of the El Dorado Charter SELPA. So we did try to get into the Sonoma County one, but it was years ago, and we had 4 schools and only one was in Sonoma, and at that time they were not allowing that to happen. So.
Yeah. Questions, Trustee Medina?
Seeing that I didn't see any other questions or hands up, I'd just like to make a motion to the staff.
Trustee Medina, I actually still have some questions before we get there, but is there anyone else that has any questions? All right. So I do have a few questions. So I know that the report included the comparisons to results in other areas of the district, but could you articulate, and recognizing that we're going to see you again in 5 years for a more robust conversation instead of what we get to do with our schools where we're talking every year. Even with the progress noted by the staff analysis, you're in the red for graduation, English learner progress, math, and several other elements. Can you please just articulate what you're changing to address those dashboard scores?
Absolutely. If I could also comment on the first thing you said. We hope that we will have a relationship with you if you approve us, that we are literally reporting to you and telling you progress on our performance. Doing an annual report at a board meeting is something that we're very used to and should be expected from us. And we look forward to that if you so choose to do that. So it is annually, that will be, if not more. But in reference to, the dashboard, essentially, I mean, there's a reason why DAS schools have the asterisks when it comes to the dashboard, right? And 50% of our kids every year that are factored into that dashboard are completely new. And so, I mean, honestly, even if we had huge spikes that were positive, I don't know that I could take 100% of the credit for that either. If, again, every time we're talking about apples to oranges every year of those kids on that dashboard, to be very, very upfront. I've been an educator for 40 years. You can't in 1 year all of a sudden skyrocket up or down. But to speak specifically to your question, we have been working with the county. We're differentiated assistance. Thank you, school, DA school, and getting fabulous input on engagement with our students. Our biggest struggle as an independent study school is the same as any seat-based school with some of these students that are at risk, getting them to show up and participate. But at our school, they don't have to, and I can't take them to a SARB hearing because they can do it at home, but they're still not sometimes, right? So that is our biggest struggle. So we're working with the county on engagement and how to get the kids more engaged. We started the grad track program We're starting to do our home visits to get those students more engaged, which is something we've never done before, our home visits. And I know that you all do it frequently. It's new to us. And it was, great suggestion on how to implement it. We've embedded math practices more intensely into the curriculum we already have. So we're basically adjusting the curriculum to give the kids more of the basic skills. And we use the iReady reading instruction and English language arts, and we've also embedded those practices into all of our standard curriculum. So kids don't quote me on this, but they don't even know they're getting the extra practice. It's literally embedded into the curriculum. So we're hoping we're going to see changes. And what I would, I'm just throwing it out there. In our MOU, what's really important to us is if I have that student over time, those benchmark assessments, whether it's a year, that I can show you that they're learning throughout the year. And hopefully those are kids for 3 years, and that I can show you that we are making changes for those kids who continue with us, as opposed to the kids who come and go every other month or every other week, which is hard. It's harder to measure that and put it on a dashboard, to be honest.
And I totally understand because we have the same
I know.
presentation for other schools, the dashboards, lack of nuance or understanding. Can you be specific in how you're making sure that you are making progress when those types of transparent indicators can't show it? And, what we could expect to see and how we can have these conversations to be able to help you make sure you're achieving your expectations.
Our two biggies are course completion and credits, right? Because that is the here and the now, and that's what's going to get the kids to graduate and to finish on time and to make sure that they're meeting the standards on an annual basis, right? Like just say dashboard, whatever. But if they are learning and they're able to complete their classes on time, the full breadth of classes that every student is expected to complete in a year, that is a huge accomplishment for most of our kids. And if they can do that 30 credits every semester, that is a huge accomplishment. So those are our two big internal measurements. And we're looking at it. We have some courses that are semester, some that are quarters in regular traditional terminology. And we are looking at it week by week by week, the progress. And, because it's online, our system tracks, are they on target to finish this? If not, why? What are we doing? Let's have an SST. Let's bring the kids some resources. Let's get them in. We can see it literally. It's broken down in the minutia of what they're learning on a daily basis. That is the beauty of the online curriculum. There's downsides to it too, but that's the beauty of it. We can see what they really know in an instant almost. I mean, it's a little exaggerated, but so we're watching it, tracking it. My director of curriculum instruction and assessment is in here. She has spreadsheets out the SNAs, just watching this every single day and working with the teachers and the families and the kids to make sure that they're making the progress they need to, and that we're giving them the help they need to make that progress.
So I was an independent study student from 6th grade on.
Remember you said
That was my last grade, and I ended up testing out and going to the JC when I was 16. So I can relate to the independent study model almost more than the traditional. Attendance is more important from what I've seen my son going through and to what I went through in independent study. Your attendance projections are a little low from what I would expect of myself if I was back in that program and what I knew it took for me to succeed. So can you specifically address how you track what attendance means for your program and then how you're improving that?
Attendance in our independent study program is based on work product, which is based on what I just talked about, which is the completion of the classes. So if they are not on track, and there's all kinds of nuances to that, to complete the class, that means they're not doing the work product. And if they're not doing the work product, they're not going to graduate on time. They're not getting the attendance. Attendance is all based on the work product. So if we have students who haven't really passed a class in 4 or 5 years, which we do have a lot of, to turn them around, that they're doing the traditional amount of work product on a daily basis. I'm proud of the mid-80s. I really am when it comes to our attendance, because these kids we have students coming to us with 0 credits after 2 years in high school, and then all of a sudden I've got 80% attendance out of them, and that's based on the fact that he's making progress in learning. So,
and once you've made the significant progress, what are your interventions for the incremental progress once you've gotten that first bump?
Motivation of graduating early, going on to getting them into SRJC, and getting them the classes quicker, sooner, graduating early. But we literally see it. We can watch that attendance every single day. And that's the educational coordinator's role to do that and to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be getting that attendance on the daily basis. And then if they're not, let's come up with 19 different things that we can do to try to get them to be taking ownership over it and to actually do it. And some of them don't do it. I mean, you probably saw kids leave your independent study program all the time. They think it's going to be so much easier. It's not,
And that actually leads to my next question, which is for the students, for the kids that doesn't work for, what is your process to counsel them into a placement that does work for them?
Yeah, it's a great question. We do have a multiple system approach to re-engagement. MTSS, the old way of saying it, but we have SSTs, we will bring in tutors, and we will spend a lot of time with the kids, and it's always an internal dialogue, but I'm sure your staff have as well. Dialogue fight, whatever you want to call it, like how long is too long to keep them and keep trying, right? But we eventually do what we call an independent study review process because the education code does dictate that we determine that independent study is an appropriate placement. And that's using special ed language, but that's not for special ed. It's just our general ed kids because I'm messing that kid's life up if I keep them too long in independent study, if they really can't handle or don't want to do independent study. But we have a months-long process of trying to re-engage the student before we get to that point and we make that determination. But we are required to literally send them back to the district. And I know Superintendent August got a stack of a mismatch of kids that came back and some that just didn't show up. But that's what we're required to do. But we have a very intense process before we get to that point.
And is that process well documented?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
And is that a part of what our staff is able to review from you on an annual basis?
Yeah. Monthly, weekly. I know that's what you want to do, right, Dr. Castro? Yes, absolutely. And all the spreadsheets that go with it because we track it that way as well.
And then specifically to special education, there were some findings that raised concerns about making independent study does have the capacity to attract a disproportionate amount of especially neurodivergent students because it's a model that can adapt to them. So I want to be really, I would like to hear I know I saw the written response, provide a clear response to the concerns raised about the special education provisions.
Let's just start with, we accept every student, no matter what disability they have, enroll in Pivot. We have to, we want to, and they do, and we have to serve them. So let's just start with that part. And we will sometimes contract with districts, contract with vendors to provide some of those services. Predominantly, and we gave you the numbers of the breakdown, our students qualify, for academic support, and we give them specialized academic instruction, as well as our exceptional needs students that we just changed the curriculum of this year. But one county asked me, what's our secret sauce? And I said, I was standing up publicly going, which secret sauce? I didn't know what she meant. And she meant most of their charters had a very low number of special ed students. And she said, why do you have such a high number? And I said, well, if you look at our general ed program, our general ed program looks like a special ed program. And then we throw all these other services on top of that even. And for the students, because we're individualizing everything to the minutia for the general ed program. So that's what our education specialists do for our special ed students as well. They're only in groups of 3, 4 at max, at most, when they're getting their specialized academic instruction. It's, they're using the curriculum as much as possible, but that's not always going to help them meet their goals. So and a lot of kids qualify for special education under other health impaired because they had a lot of trauma. And so we have some amazing counselors that help them through that as well. So
When we're looking at students with different abilities. We have those that end up qualifying for the IEP and being considered special education, but there are others who have disabilities that don't necessarily put them into that
Sure.
bucket
They
of
don't make the qualify,
classification.
yeah.
And specifically, I'm thinking of our twice exceptional students who may be high achieving academically, but not being challenged and not actually learning how to learn. How does your program track and understand that population and make sure you're serving that group of students with disabilities?
We start with the assessments and seeing where they are on their math and language arts scores, and how they're doing in their classes. And again, because they can go at their own pace, as long as they're doing it with integrity and not cheating, because sometimes they can find ways to do that. But we will make sure that they are being challenged. We have numerous advanced placement classes. We will quickly get students into the college classes at all of our campuses, not just here with Santa Rosa Junior College, to try to get them to be stimulated and have the advanced classes. It's tough with independent study. If they're really, 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 really bright, they might get bored. I'll be honest. So we have to watch that and make sure that they're getting what they need. And the best way to do that when we don't have, a full-blown chemistry lab is to suggest that they get into Santa Rosa Junior College. And we have a counselor that works specifically to help those students do that. So.
And are you saying that you do universal assessments for twice exceptional students?
We do assessments for all of our students, not necessarily just the twice exceptional students.
No, but I mean
to be honest.
universal to identify.
Yeah, no, honestly, President Caston, we're not looking to identify those students individually, to be honest, no. Not in the way that I know you're traditionally thinking about it. So, yeah, no, we don't.
Are you able to track outcomes specifically for, are you able to track the outcomes once you have identified that they have a differentiated learning plan?
Track them in what way? With their academics or their growth? I mean, we're kind of doing that for everybody, so.
And that can be the answer, that what you're currently doing for everyone is
Yeah,
achieving it, but
yeah.
specifically the challenge with this group of students very specifically is that can be so easy that they don't actually learn
Sure.
to learn.
Yeah.
And then when they face the challenge later on, maybe in college, maybe in work, that's what creates, they never had the growth in that critical thinking component.
No, honestly, to be very, very frank, we're not tracking them to that degree in that area. But I'd be happy to talk to you about it. I'd actually, now I'm curious. Abigail, I'm really curious how many of them would qualify as that.
All righty. I have both trustees, De La Torre and Medina, so I'll go to trustee De La Torre.
I just want to recognize trustee Medina's motion to approval for the Pivot Charter School North Bay's renewal petition and our staff's recommendation with the second.
I think it was just moved and seconded. Any further discussion or any further questions or discussion? Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is a hearing and we all need to provide our input and comments.
I appreciate that this school exists. I'm gonna get choked up. It's fine. I don't know why I'm getting choked up. I have worked with lots of families who have kids who go to Pivot, who have been successful, and also having family members who have been in alternative education programs in the 90s when things like this didn't exist. So I'm glad that you guys exist. I understand that we are in a sticky situation as far as finances and ADA and how all of the things work. And I wish that that what we do offer was I want to misspeak, but I appreciate the program that you guys have. I appreciate the programs that we have currently within our system, and I do hope that they can very much complement each other, and that, I mean, whether Pivot as well as, say, an independent study in general, the goal is to get the kids into a system that works for them to get them to be successful adults in society and contributing to the greater community. So I appreciate everything that your program has done and continues to do, whether that be here or in another part of California. California? United States? California. So I just wanted to put that out there. I really appreciate that this program exists and that it does fill a gap for students in general, wherever they may be. It definitely does fill a gap. So thank you.
Trustee Medina, do you have further comments or questions?
No, sorry.
All right. Here. Trustee Prack?
Just a comment. I personally know 3 families that their children are at Pivot, and it was the best fit for them because the traditional educational model wasn't the right fit for their kids. And they're doing well and thriving, and they just had a lot of positive things to say about your school. So.
Trustee De La Torre, comment?
So one question just came up as we're talking about the services offered. When you have students with medical needs, does that responsibility fall on a Pivot, or does it fall into the nursing responsibilities of the district, home district?
It's our responsibility. 100%. There's options for some charter schools to be a school within the district for purposes of special ed, but that is not what we are. We are our own LEA.
Trustee Creo, did you have any comments before we move? All right, let's move to a roll call vote.
Student Board Member Carrillo. Trustee Medina.
Aye.
Trustee De La Torre. Trustee Jenkins. Trustee Prack. Trustee McNally. President Caston.
Aye, that motion passes unanimously. Thank I thank you for your presentation and time. Thank you for everyone who attended. All right, with that, we are going to move to item H, board member requests for information. Am I correct?
I'm not requesting new information. I'm just wanting to know the information that I requested a couple months ago regarding the turf field from Santa Rosa City Schools, if that could.
Starting the work.
I think I put in a request for more information.
Turf fields. All right, request from trustee Prack on the previously made update on the turf fields and conditions. Any other requests for information? All right, trustee Jenkins. Folks, if you could, we have a couple of things left to do, so if you could take the conversation out into the lobby, we'll be done very shortly.
Some of these have been emailed, but I wanted to make sure they were on the record. I'm wondering what our policy is around.
Folks, please take the conversations out to the lobby. And consider a motion to reconsider.
So I'd like to know what our policy is around who can take AP and honors classes, meaning are students with immigrant status or ELD excluded from this? And do they have to test into this opportunity? That's one. I also would like to know from our district standpoint what the process is for consolidating districts. And then I would also, finally, I would also like to know, I'd like an update on the middle grades, 7th, 8th grade sports with athletics being possibly added to that subject, being with a regular update. we haven't had a big conversation about that yet.
Perfect. Thank you.
Some of this may end up on the January 7th meeting.
I have another question.
All right, no further requests for
I have,
information. Oh, wait,
I have a request.
Trustee Medinas.
Yeah, I'd just like to ask if, given some of the stuff highlighted by CSEA, if we can get information as to all the places that we've advertised the special ed positions for, you know what I'm talking about. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I also anticipate that we'll make sure we're on all the places that were mentioned today. Any other further requests for information? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move to adjournment. We're adjourned at 9:11.